Okay, I think we are on. It just started recording. So this time I'm gonna allow Tamogna to introduce himself first, and then I'll speak about him if there's anything he left out. Please go ahead.
So,
Tell me who
introduce.
you are, what are you doing, what have you done, all those things.
My name is Tamungna Chattopadhyay. Uh, I am a simple student of law who has been somewhat uh, attracted towards this subject, and and I have seriously fallen in love with it. I can confess, and even though the statements given by my other co-panelists in this gathering, I can myself say that I have done nothing which is great or nothing which is of either importance or of uh, praise or of anything whatsoever. So with that, I say that I'm a third year law student of VIT School of Law, and that is what I need to portray to you all. Now I give back to Shiva Mahadevan to do other introduction about myself as well as of my co-panelists. And please don't get swayed with the statements of Shiva Mahadevan about me. Thank you.
Before we start, I have to say uh, the guy is obviously lying to his teeth, and he forgot, like, I don't know whether he has amnesia or whatever. He's forgetting many things in this introduction. So he's actually like written. How many papers did you write, man? Go ahead.
I said it is just four.
Yeah, 4 papers, 2 presentations, and he'll say, and how many internships? 10, 15, 20?
10, 15. What? Not. I've only done how many?
Don't say the
Four.
countable ones or whatever you
No,
consider
no,
that.
four,
Say
four,
the
four,
total. So
four.
he's done 4 internships, 4 paper presentations, and no, you did 2 paper presentations, right? And
Four
4 papers you wrote.
publications.
Yeah, okay. The other 2 guys you see here have done nothing. Zero in every category you can possibly imagine. With the help of our speaker today, I wrote a paper and another friend was there. We basically attached our names to whatever he did. Literally, that's what happened. And then I wrote something about economics, and I have absolutely no idea how I did that. So nothing related to law. And our friend here, he is a sports person, very busy. So he's not yet indulged into law as of now. So before we start, I'll just tell something about myself. So I'm Shiva, and right now I'm in my 3rd year, and law is an accident to me. I had no intention of doing it. It happened just like that, and I'm enjoying it. It's fun to see all these cases, and there are some hilarious ones. So I'm enjoying my time in law school, and I'll allow Varun to tell about him.
As Tamogna said, yeah, did a lot of papers, but sorry, as Siva said, he did a help of paper. He did a paper with the help of Tamogna. I also did the same. I did only one paper with the help of Tamogna. All the contents he gave, I just put my name myself as Varun Vignesh. Other than that, like my background, I am fully of white. Nothing, no scratch in my lifetime. That's it. I'm not basic. I'm a basic law student, but I'm not basically knowledge in law. As you said, I'm a sports person. Nothing much better than interesting in my life as Tamogna and Shivamaga Devan. Over to Tamogna. Over to MCS.
So, like he says, we are very average. We have absolutely no knowledge, and in every class we sleep and he listens. So right now, what we are going to have is a revision class. We can say it like that because our faculty took what Tamogna is going to tell us now for 2 days. We didn't hear a single word of it. That's why he's going to do this. And he's trying to teach that in 1 hour. So that itself shows his abundant skill. So I'll now allow him to say what he's going to talk about, introduce it, and then give it back to us so we can say something about it, whatever we know.
So to begin with, it was quite a humbling introduction given by these two co-panelists of mine. To add or to say that to be a lawyer or to be in any profession, you should need a good heart and you should be a good human being, which I believe both of them are, and which I believe I am not to that extent. So with this, I will go into the subject matter at hand.
I object that.
Yeah, objection sustained. Okay, let's go.
So whatever. So this today I'm going to talk about this remarkably strange case in constitutional law, or Article 21 at large, which is the famous case of Maneka Gandhi or Maneka Gandhi, as Shiva Mahadevan always
It's spelled
pulls my
M-A.
leg.
Let me ask you a question. How do you spell M-A-N-E?
Maneka Gandhi.
It's not no, it's Mane. Okay, let's not go into the syllables of the English language. Let's just go into the case.
So this case has nothing of much substance. Even though we say that this judgment is a landmark judgment, and I will just take 2 or 3 minutes, after which I will hand it over to my co-panelist. It is not a landmark judgment. Over here, even though we say Article 21 is a fundamental right which is closest to our heart, but still the judges doesn't provide that to the plaintiff, or doesn't give, or the 7-judge bench doesn't provide that to Maneka Gandhi. And just to take another minute, I will say Maneka Gandhi's judgment has been told by many legal minds and has been told by many lawyers and judges of the bar and the bench. It is a simple case or a simple fight between a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law in the courts of law. So you can understand there are so many laws. So with that, I give it to my co-panelists Shiva Mahadevan and Gaurav.
Thank you. I'll just tell what I know about this case so that you can go to the points which we don't know and help us. So as far as my knowledge goes, Maneka Gandhi or Maneka Gandhi, she is a journalist who wanted to travel abroad, and during this time, the passport office had blocked her passport for reasons which I'm not aware of, and for that she had apparently written letters to the ministry and to the appropriate authorities and didn't get any answers. So she filed a case in the Supreme Court under Article 32. This is the ultimate knowledge I have about this case. Now I'm going to ask Varun what he knows. So this is actually just to give a background of who we are and why we are doing this. Okay, so please go ahead.
Thank you, Shiva Mahadevan. As for my knowledge for the Maneka Gandhi case, I know it's only the passport case. That's it. Nothing other than that. Then it covers the Article 21 of Constitution. That's it. Only 2 lines. That also on behalf of Tamogna, I know for a few reasons he explained that it's a passport case and it comes under 21 of Constitution. That's it. It shows how we are knowledge in law and in the case law. Over to Tamogna for explaining in crisp lines in better understanding in few minutes. Thank you.
As what has been told by my co-panelist, it is really brief, it is really crisp, and I will say there are nothing much to add in this. The only thing that I did not know, with the immense knowledge that they believe for me to have, I don't know whether she's a journalist or not. Absolutely. So the thing that was pointed out by Shiva Mahadevan, that her passport was taken away. On the day she got it, on the very next day, the regional passport officer said, "Madam, please return the passport to us." And the statement which was given by the regional passport officer is interesting to be noted. Not to furnish her a copy of the statement or reasons for making of the order as it was done in the interest of the general public. So over here we should understand as to what is meant by the regional passport officer in the interest of the general public. Who is the public? For whose statement or for whose reason if a individual passport is taken away? For no apparent reason. She even wrote to the Ministry of External Affairs and they also did not pay any heed so as to answer to the question. She moved the Supreme Court. It came in front of the 7 learned judges of the Supreme Court of India. Justice P.N. Bhagwati gave a lead judgment and which was praised and hailed by other judges of the bench. Judges like Justice B.R. Krishna Iyer, Justice Fazal Ali, and the great Chief Justice of India, Mirza Hamidullah Beg, who also happened to be two times president, once acting president, the second time president of India, and as well as a vice president of India. It was exceptional because and that too as soon as he demitted his office as the Chief Justice of India. So in this case, the main section, even though the petition was filed as per Article 32 of the Constitution, still Section 10.5 and 10.3c of the Passport Act was taken into consideration, and both of these sections doesn't give the power to the regional passport officer to take away any random person in India their passport. So in this judgment, as I had told in my introduction, even though this judgment is a landmark, even though this judgment is a passport judgment as per my great friend Varun Vignesh, but still this judgment has not given judgment, because over here they only say that Article 19 is important, Article 21 is important, Article 21 says about our right to travel, and I will go into it. I will not just skip it like that. But still, it doesn't. It only in the end also it says Justice P.N. Bhagwati gave a judgment in his last lines of the judgment. He says that the passport. He did not give. Justice Fazal Ali gave his in the end of his opinion, gave the final order of the court, the final dictum of the court, and they said that the passport will be retained by the regional passport officer. Then for what good reason did Maneka Gandhi come to the High Supreme Court of India just to hear from the Supreme Court also that her passport will not be given? How is that even possible? The Supreme Court of India, as what has been done in this case, they have just interpreted law. A judge is not just to sit in the courtroom and just interpret the law. They should also say, they should also bring the justice, like just the great Justice Learned Hand once said of the U.S. Supreme Court to the then great Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, "Do justice, sir, do justice." Is this justice that has been done? Is this justice that the Indian citizen, a common Indian citizen, Maneka Gandhi, if for a chance you the viewers go to the Supreme Court and say my passport is taken for the general public, do you think you will anticipate or you will accept the claim that it is taken by general public? So I will not answer. How is that possible? That is the question that we need to ask. Even though we might hail. The law books might say what has Article 21 been before Maneka Gandhi and after Maneka, but has the law has been set to motion, or the law has been set, but has the justice been served? As what Justice Learned had said, do justice. Where is justice? No justice. Only interpretation of law. For that you can buy interpretation of statute. There's a wonderful book. Why you need a judge to interpret the law? You don't need. And I believe that in this judgment, the judges have in length gone.
A small question. Aren't judges there to interpret the law? Like
they are also there to do justice to the person who has come to court.
But one of the main objectives of being a judge is to interpret the law, as far as I know. Now
Nah,
you're
nah,
making me doubt
they
that
are.
knowledge. So
No, they are. But still, they should do justice. Justice P.N. Bhagwati, Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer, both the judges have said it is wrong, whereas the other judges said it is right. How is it right if you say Article 21 is is the almighty given, right,
So,
and it can't be
what was
taken?
the ratio of the judgment? I actually thought it was a unanimous judgment. I have no idea, so just asking.
No. Even they said it in a very minuscule way, but they also said that it is a wrong action that has been done. We should remember what Article 21 says. Article 21 says that the life and liberty of an individual should not be taken as per the procedure established by law. What procedure established by law has been done? Why hasn't the judges taken into consideration as to what is the procedure? The procedure set out in section 10(3)(c) and 10(5). 10(3)(c) and 10(5) of the Passport Act doesn't say that you can take a passport without in your whim and fancy. I correct my statement and say that judges are there to interpret the statute. When they go, even though this case was not an appeal, but still, if a substantive interpretation of law, then you go to the Supreme Court. I accept. But still, when the action is wrong, shouldn't the judges come in front? Shouldn't the court be the social change maker? The judges are supposed to be social change makers on as soon as the petitioner sets the law in motion. The minute they set the law in motion, why isn't the judges doing what they are supposed? I'm not sure, but shouldn't the judges do justice? That is my main question in this case.
But there should be a reason for which they gave such a judgment, right? So what exactly did they say for giving such a weird judgment as you claim it is? I will little digress from this one. If you go to the Ayodhya verdict, I'm just digressing for the fact that I have to establish my point. If you go to the Ayodhya verdict, in whole of the verdict, which is of 1,357 pages, if you go to the whole judgment, the judges say it is not known. It is not clear as to who as to whether it is Ram Janmabhoomi or Babri Masjid was there in that site. In the later point of time, you say no, the property should be given to the Hindus and another property far away from Babri Masjid site should be given to the Muslims. You tell in the whole judgment it is not sure, and at the end of the judgment you are sure. Like that, the same thing happened in the judgment. The judges say that the British said this, France said that, French Revolution, liberty, equality, fraternity. Even though that is not a subject matter of this case, but still, they go in lengths and breadths to say how great Article 21, and they say, and even though there is a flaw in the petitioner's argument, where the petitioner says that Article 19 also provides for a free travel to other places, which the judges, in their judgment, I think Justice P.N. Bhagwati himself said that it is not so. Article 21 only gives that right, that we have right to travel to any part of India or to travel to any place. So I hope it. So the first question was the second question was actually, is the right to go abroad covered in Article 19(1)(a) or G? So the judges say it is not. So this was one of the fallacy which was hailed by all the judges, all the 7 judges of the bench. It is indeed a unanimous judgment, but still, their Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer being the biggest, the greatest dissenter and the greatest lawmaker that the country or the Supreme Court has ever seen, he has also said that this is not good at all. That you can't. I will like to quote Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer's judgment. This line, which is wonderful, and which I believe should be known to people. So in this entire judgment, only 2 people wrote it. Only Justice Bhagwati and Krishna Iyer wrote it, or
No. The Chief Justice Mirza Hamidullah Beg, Justice P.N. Bhagwati, Justice P.S. Kailasam, Justice Fazal Ali, Justice B.R. Krishna Iyer, and Justice Vaivy
It's
Chandrachud.
seven bench.
Huh?
It's seven bench.
Yes,
There's
yes.
seven judges, right?
Yes. But still, only 6.
In some cases, the judges might just agree with the opinion the other judges give. So only some judges will write. Like in the Krishna Kumar Singh versus State of Bihar case, only 3 judges wrote. Others just agreed, right? So I'm asking, did something like that happen in this case, or did all 7 write something?
No,
You only mentioning the two
all
judges,
7.
right?
Now there were 6 judges who wrote the judgment. Justice P.N. Bhagwati's judgment is the judgment which they all concurred with. So not concur, but they all accept with. And whereas the other judges just add certain points. And I will just say what the last judgment says, the final order of the court. Having regard to the majority view and in view of the statement made by the learned Attorney General, to which reference has already been made in the judgment, we accordingly dispose of the writ petition without passing any formal order. How can a court make a judgment without any formal order? I think you people must have read CPC decree. Actually, decree should be there, but still there is no final order, and it is not yet completed. The passport will remain in the custody of the registrar of this court until further orders. How is the registrar so hale and hearty and can take someone's passport without any rhyme and reason? The rhyme and reason has not been spelled in this judgment, and there will be no order as to cost. Maneka Gandhi has suffered such a long. From the writ petition was filed in 1977. Only in 1978 was this decision made. So why will, and you should remember the facts is very important. Sorry. The facts is very important. Over here, 4th May, after 4th May, Maneka Gandhi went to the Supreme Court. After that, they took a whole year. They passed an order. And they did not pass it. It is on the discretion of the bench that they did that. But still, the question in this case is, the judges have interpreted the law. Judges have found the historical basis of law. The judges have went in lengths and breadths to bring in a new factor in right to life and liberty, that the right to travel is a fundamental right, but it is not guaranteed. I would like my viewers as well as my co-panelists to hear a very recent live law lecture on A.K. Gopalan's case, where the same thing has happened. The judgments might be landmark because of their interpretation. But,
the judges can interpret the laws made by several years ago.
Yes.
Because the law is made for the certain rules and regulations. How judges can interpret as justice can interpret the law?
Now, the judges can interpret the law in the sense that what was the legislative intent of the person, or what was the legislative intent of the person who made the law, and what was the basis in which that the law was made, as the law was created by the legislature. That is what the interpretation act. And what does this say? That is simple, but that is what is done by the judges actually. Any further questions?
So when they say there are no further orders, what exactly happened after that? Is there any other case where
No. It is that part of it is uncertain as to what happened. That part is really uncertain as to what.
Wow. Okay. That's very interesting.
That's why this judgment, even though it is taken in length and breadth, judges take quotations from this judgment, but no justice was done in this judgment. No justice was given to the people. Was justice. The only if a person reads, I'm telling you this judgment. I think my friend Shiva Mahadevan will know that the judgment is huge. If only a person reads Justice P.N. Bhagwati's judgment,
The document I have, it's going till 157 pages, and that is it's a humongous judgment without a doubt. So
it's a humongous judgment. So over here, I will say that Justice B.R. Krishna Iyer, being a great judge as he was, has tried in his own little way to say that the action was wrong. The judges also, Justice Chief Justice, Justice Chandrachud, Justice Krishna Iyer and Justice Bhagwati say that the action was wrong. But then also, why no justice is being done to your client or to the person? Even though, okay, one might say that this action is wrong, but is the judgment being correct? Is the judgment serving what it should? Is the judgment throwing light? No, the judgment is throwing light to law, but is the judgment throwing light and using like I mean, this example has been used under the name of many, but I will say like Mahatma Gandhi said that if there is this anecdote where it is said that forget that. So the thing is that if you say or if you profess some idea, you should also follow it before professing. This judgment has professed an idea, but they did not follow. Future judgments did. Future judges did. Why not these judges? This judgment over here, they have quoted from Cicero to Kautilya. In this judgment, they have quoted from Magna Carta to Plato. Sorry, from Plato's dialogue to Magna Carta. They have quoted so much. But where is justice? Where is justice? Over here, the obiter dicta is taken, which is the biggest wrong that is being done by many of the lawyers in this profession. That they only take the obiter dicta, they don't take the ratio decidendi of the case. The ratio decidendi doesn't give justice. The ratio decidendi doesn't give what the obiter what the judges wanted. And this is all that I wanted to say. If any further question is there, I might clarify more. I think.
So you gave a very detailed opinion about the judgment, but I'm still not sure why exactly they've given this. So, like, can you tell us what the issues were in the case? Like, what did the court contemplate while considering this case?
Okay. Where is Marun Vignesh? Marun Vignesh left.